Ransom will be ready to go in just a minute.
Yeah.
Hi, Craig.
How are you, Karen?
I'm good. Hi, Ricky. Stu.
Hey. How are you doing?
Good. So we're going to get everyone that's waiting in the waiting room connected, and then we'll get started in just a couple of minutes.
Thank you. Sure.
Oh, there's Cynthia. Hi, Cynthia.
Hi there. Sorry about that. I don't know what was going on.
Okay, we're happy to see you. All right, Ransom, I think we are good to go to get started.
Okay, well, in that case, I'll call the meeting to order. Can we get a roll call?
Commissioner Alexander,
Here.
Commissioner Campbell,
Here.
Commissioner DeBrava,
Here.
Commissioner Ellis,
Here.
Commissioner Hahn, Commissioner Hyder.
You're muted.
Here, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. First item of business is to approve the agenda. Does anybody have any changes to the agenda that need to be made? Not hearing any. One more call? Nobody. Okay, we'll move on to approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. Does anybody have any changes to the minutes that need to be made?
Commissioner Ransom, we need to approve the agenda with a motion and a
Oh,
second.
I'm sorry. You're right. Okay, do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
All right, do I hear a second? Got a second?
Who is the second?
Who seconded that? Thank you.
Brian did.
Commissioner Hyder,
Aye.
Commissioner Ellis,
Aye.
Commissioner DeBrava,
Hi.
Commissioner Campbell,
Aye.
Commissioner Alexander.
Hi.
Thank you.
Meeting now.
Okay. Next item of business is the approval of the minutes. Anybody that has any changes to the minutes, make a motion.
I'll hand the phone to her. Cynthia, a resident, needs help logging into, they're all at the police station and can't figure out how to go to this meeting.
Okay. So the meeting is via Zoom. Yes. Somebody's trying to get in, but we're not there. So
Chris, this is Chris. I'll head upstairs and look at it right now. I'll address it.
Okay.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Someone's gonna come and help you out. Yeah.
Let's proceed with approval of the minutes.
Yes.
Thank
Does
you.
anybody have any changes to be made? How about a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Cynthia. Do I hear a second?
Second that.
Darren, thank you. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Campbell,
Aye.
Commissioner DeBrava,
Aye.
Commissioner Ellis,
Aye.
Commissioner Hyder,
Aye.
and Commissioner Alexander.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. I will say, we need to have the meetings. Would you read the meeting procedures? Because tonight, let me point out that we have 8 separate matters that we're going to deal with. So, or maybe it's 7, but 8, I think. And so if you would read the meeting procedures for us, Chris or Karen.
The Planning and Zoning Commission holds public hearings as required by law and provides recommendations to City Council on matters relating to land use planning, zoning, and the subdivision of land. Any person who has an interest in the subject matter of a hearing will have the opportunity to provide testimony and present evidence to the commission during the public hearing. Speakers are required to conduct themselves in an orderly and respectful manner. Disruptive behavior, including applause, yelling, speaking out of turn, or other inappropriate behaviors will not be tolerated. Additionally, the following applies to any person addressing the commission. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes unless authorized additional time by the chairperson. Speakers must speak directly to the commission unless previous arrangements have been made by the chairperson. Speakers must provide their names and address to the commission prior to speaking. Speakers must begin by stating that their name and address and should speak clearly into their microphones. The chairperson will announce the subject of the hearing, followed by a report from staff. The chairperson will then open the public hearing to the applicant, followed by those in favor of the application, and then to those opposed to the application. The chairperson will close the public hearing. During this time, the commission will discuss amongst themselves. The public may not address the commission after the close of the public hearing unless requested by the chairperson. The Planning and Zoning Commission shall base their recommendation and/or decision on information and evidence presented during the public hearing. This decision, if required by the application, will be forwarded in writing to the City Council for further consideration.
Thank you. All right. First item is rezone 21-018. Public hearing and possible vote to recommend the approval of an application to change the zoning map by Old Savannah LLC for 15.09 acres at the 6800 block of South Farm Road 89 from agricultural AG to high density single family residential R1H. Is the applicant present, and does the applicant, if they're present, want to speak?
Can we go ahead and present the staff report first?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep. I'm just getting ahead of myself.
Share the screen.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that you guys can see some of these maps while we're talking about this. Old Savannah LLC has applied to change the zoning classification of 15.09 acres of property located at the 600 block of South Farm Road 89 from agricultural AG to high density single family residential R1H. The property subject to this rezoning application is comprised of approximately 15.09 acres of land located at the 1600 block of South Farm Road 89. The property is currently vacant and was annexed into Republic in January of 2020. The applicant owns an adjacent parcel to the east, which is also under consideration for rezoning. The applicant intends to develop the parcels as Old Savannah Phase 4. The following paragraphs contain brief analyses of the present site conditions as well as the proposal's relationship to adopted plans of the city. The city's comprehensive plan generally encourages the expansion of residential development through proactive rezoning of land at appropriate locations. Appropriate locations are generally described throughout the plan with regard to the relationship of land at particular locations to infrastructure capable of supporting various intensities and densities of uses. The 2021 Comprehensive Plan and Land Use Plan provides land use goals and objectives relating to residential development, including the following. Goal 1, to support market conditions to develop a greater variety of residential and commercial options. Objective, support a variety of housing developments and styles to ensure a range of options are available. Goal, support new development that is well connected to the existing community. Objective 1, encourage development that improves and expands upon existing infrastructure. And objective 2, to promote development aligning with current adopted plans of the city. Goal 3, to recognize potential infill sites as opportunities for development while mitigating impacts to adjacent established properties. Objective 1, to support the development of vacant parcels as opportunities for densification that is harmonious with surrounding development. The general trend of development in the vicinity of the subject property in recent years has been the development of residential subdivisions. The subject property is surrounded by the Lakes at Schuler Ridge Planned Development District PDD to the east, Old Savannah Phase 3 High Density Single Family Residential R1H to the north, Greene County Agricultural A1 Zone Property to the west, and Greene County Rural Residence RR1 Zone Property to the south. The land uses permitted in the high density single family residential R1H zoning include single family dwellings, residential accessory structures, golf courses, country clubs, and schools. Regarding the capacity to serve potential development and land use, for municipal water and sewer service, this site is not currently connected to municipal utilities. The development of the parcel will require connection to the city's water and sanitary sewer systems. The exact locations of water and sanitary sewer connections will be determined during development of the property. Sanitary sewer would flow to the Schuler Creek lift station before traveling through a force main to the wastewater treatment facility. The water and sewer system currently have capacity to serve a potential development. Transportation. The subject parcel is currently accessible for agricultural and residential purposes from South Farm Road 89. Subsequent development of the subject parcel will require review of new entrances through the preliminary plating process. South Farm Road 89 is identified as a secondary arterial on the major thoroughfare plan. If the property is developed, a dedication of right-of-way will be required during the final plating process. The Republic City Code will require development of the subject property to include the extension of internal public streets to boundary lines, sidewalks, and the construction of public streets of sufficient width to accommodate the development. A traffic impact study has been completed by the applicant and reviewed by the city. The report indicates no major improvements are needed to the city's existing transportation system to accommodate the increase in traffic generated by the proposed development. The subject does not contain a special flood hazard area, floodplain, and the subject does not contain any identified sinkholes. Staff considers the proposed zoning amendment rezoning to be generally consistent with the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan, consistent with the trend of development in the vicinity of the site, generally compatible with surrounding land uses, and able to adequately be served by municipal facilities. Based on this analysis performed without the benefit of evidence and testimony of a public hearing, staff recommends the approval of this application.
Okay, is the applicant present, and does that person wish to speak? I can't see everybody, Chris, so if you see somebody making a sign.
Tim no. No, I don't.
Let's see.
Okay, is there anyone that wishes to speak in favor of the application? Other than the applicant, I guess. Hearing no one, is there anyone that wishes to, is opposed to the application that wishes to speak? Do you see anyone?
Hello?
Is that
We have someone who's trying to speak. I think she's.
Ms. White?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, multiple times.
There's
Sorry.
A lot of feedback.
I'll be on in a moment. If you can go to somebody else till I figure out the audio.
Do you wish to speak in opposition to the application on this particular property?
Well, one thing I want to point out is it was said that there are no sinkholes, and it says right on the map that
Stop,
there's a
stop
sinkhole.
just a minute. It's a simple question. If you wish to speak on this particular property against it, then I'll wait. If not, we'll go on. and then you can pick up when you want to speak. But you have to just tell me if you're wanting to speak in opposition to this application, and that's all I need to know right now.
Yes.
Okay, so see if you can fix your audio.
I think it's okay now, if it's okay on your side.
Sounds good to
Kelly,
me.
Kelly, can you provide us your address for the record?
Yes, it's 217 Woodman Lane. We are directly south.
And your name is Kelly White, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. White, tell us what you're opposed to the application. Tell us what your points are.
Well, I feel like there may not be enough information, and that was primarily the purpose of us listening to this tonight. We weren't certain on the high density, if that meant apartments. We also didn't know where there were going to be planned entrances and exits to a subdivision. We didn't know if there would be fencing provided, water retention, that sort of thing. That's what we would be worried about, because we have a pond on our property and we already received some extra water during heavy rain. And of course that would concern us.
Anything else?
Concerns on additional traffic, because it is well, it's not super busy, but it's a county line road.
I've got water, traffic, and entrances. I'm missing something. What was the first thing you said?
Fences,
Okay.
if there would be a fence provided along county line road.
All right.
These are mostly just questions that we just don't have answers to right now.
Okay. Anything else?
Entrances to the subdivision.
And I guess entrances to where that subdivision would be. And I guess lastly, whenever we purchased our property a little over a year ago, we were told that there would not be a subdivision there because it was not connected to water. And if there was any property that would be going in, they would most likely be on 5-acre properties.
Who told you that?
The realtor who we purchased the land from.
Okay. Anything else?
Not that I can think of at this time.
Okay, that's great. I think we can provide some of the answers for you, but let's go on and see if there's anybody else that wishes to speak as opposed to the application. Hearing no one, I'm going to close the hearing. Let's talk about, Chris, I think there's some simple answers to Ms. White for some of these. One in particular is the entrances and exits to the property. The way the process works is this is a zoning application asking to change the, if I'm correct, I think, zoning, asking to change the zoning on this particular piece of property from agricultural to high density. What happens after this, if it's developed, is that if the zoning is changed and if the person who's looking at the property to develop it decides they want to do a high density development, they have to come forward with a plat. And that's a separate procedure, and it happens after this whole process is over with. And at that time, we discuss entrances, we discuss water, we discuss issues associated with the property and how it affects whether or not there's sinkholes, because that'll all go into an engineering report that they'll prepare at that time. So that's it. In essence. Chris, do you want to add, or Karen, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I'd like to first of all say that Mr. Ellis is correct in how that process works. We're not looking today at what the lot arrangement is, but in answer to your question of the high density zoning is single family zoning. Each house will be one house on one lot. So it's not a multifamily. It is exactly the same arrangement or very similar to the subdivision that is just across the street to the north there that they're building out. So it can't be multifamily. Right now it's zoned agricultural. Prior to that, prior to January, it wasn't even in the city. So while the realtor may have told you that at one point, the property owner currently had decided to bring it into the city and is going to provide municipal water to that site, which does make it, an appropriate place for multiple housing units other than the way that it was described in the past. I think what they were saying is if water did not come out there, they would have to have well and septic. And so there is a minimum size to those houses. They will be bringing, sewer as well out there. As far as entrances, fencing, all of that stuff, that is all things that is not required for a rezone. During a rezone, we just look at the city's capacity and the capacity of the infrastructure to serve that property for the zoning change. We will go over those other items during the preliminary plating process, and that's kind of how that starts. So that would be the next step if the rezone is approved by City Council.
Okay, any discussion concerning this property and this proposal?
Chris,
There is somebody with their hand up. I don't know if you still want to take any commentary because of the format.
Not on this hearing.
Okay.
hey, Chris,
Hearing-
this is Andrew. Could you just clarify that if there is opportunity for public comment on the plat?
While we do bring the preliminary plat before the P&Z Commission, it is not a public hearing. And so there isn't an opportunity for public comment before that.
But can they comment on it at a city council meeting?
They would be able to speak. I assume City Council would let them comment before the council on the item, yes.
Okay,
Well,
thank you.
The rezone will go to the city council too. It's an application.
Correct. And the rezone will be heard before city council next Tuesday, February 15th at 6 p.m.
This is Brian Saunders. Can the team hear me?
I can. Are you?
I'd like an opportunity. I'm learning this process, wait for an opportunity to be able to speak. And I've had trouble trying the Zoom meeting.
Here's, go ahead.
Brian, we do have another rezone that is directly related to this one next. If you'd like to hold your comment and speak at that one, if that would be fine with you, that would be the appropriate timing. The commission has closed the public hearing for this particular rezone unless it is at the discretion of the council to reopen it.
When did you close? I've been listening to it and trying to connect for several minutes. When did you close the opportunity to speak?
The way the process works is we asked for the applicant didn't show. We asked for anybody that's in favor of the applicant to speak. No one came forward. We asked for anybody that was opposed to it, and Ms. White spoke. And after that, I said, is there anyone else that's opposed to this application? And no one came forward. And so I closed the hearing.
And that's what I was trying.
We do each one. Excuse me just a minute. We do each one of these separately. So they'll all have that same procedure. And there will be another one. The next one is very similar to this one.
Respectfully, I'd like to make a comment that I was waiting for the opportunity to speak. I'm neither against nor for. So I was waiting for additional comments. And when you ask for that opportunity, my daughter and I are trying to make the connection via my iPhone and through electronics. It is a challenge. So and finally when I got connected, then you tell me, the young lady tells me that the opportunity's been closed. Where's
It's the way the procedure has always worked. And,
Well,
we have 8 separate hearings tonight. And if everyone we start we then go back and retract and go back and allow additional people to talk, we're going to be here all night. Not that I want to cut anyone off. I don't.
So you are.
Well, I'm sorry you were not able to get connected. That's not my fault. And that's
Can I have
not
an
the fault of
opportunity?
the commission. We're
I'm not
going-
saying it's your fault. I'm going to speak, and
Well,
the
it sure
Zoom
sounded
meetings
like it.
are.
It sure sounded like it, and I appreciate people that are civil, and I don't appreciate people that aren't. So we're going to move on.
I'm not being uncivil.
Your opinion, sir. All
I
right.
had an
All right,
opportunity. Community, you're denying that.
that's correct. We're moving on. Is it anyone on the commission have any discussion on this application?
I did ask this of Chris earlier, Ransom. I am curious if there's any traffic plans for this Farm Road 89, I guess, South Lynn. Just because that traffic is getting semi-high along that route. So I was just curious. It may be impossible to do because of the development, but I was curious if there is any plans for traffic down that south area there.
So this is Garrett Brickner. I'm the engineering manager for the city. We did request a traffic study be completed on this rezone before bringing it forward with you tonight. The traffic study itself did not suggest that any improvements need to be made for the intersections that may potentially be made onto Williamsburg Walk or County Line Road. And that's where we're at with that. Now, as far as Lynn itself, additional improvements may need to be made in the future, but those would be on the burden of the city to make those improvements, not the developer.
Okay.
Any other questions? Comments? Or motions?
I'll motion to approve.
Okay. I have a motion to approve.
Second.
Hold on just a sec. The motion is to approve rezone 21-018, which is a recommendation for the approval of the application to change the zoning map by Old Savannah LLC for 15.09 acres at the 6800 block of South Farm Road 89 from agricultural AG to high-density single-family residential R1H. I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. Brian, was that you?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. I hear a motion and second. Any discussion on the motion? Call the roll.
Commissioner DeBrava,
Yes.
Commissioner Ellis,
Aye.
Commissioner Alexander,
Aye.
Commissioner Hyder,
Aye.
and Commissioner Campbell.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, matter passes. We'll move to the second item. Rezone 21-019, public hearing and possible vote to recommend the approval of an application to change the zoning map by Old Savannah LLC for 7.86 acres at the 8,000 block of West Farm Road 194 from the Lakes at Schuler's Ridge Planned Development District, PDD, to high-density single-family residential R1H. Can we hear the report?
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. Give me a second. Old Savannah LLC has applied to change the zoning classification of 7.86 acres of property located at the 8,000 block of West Farm Road 194 from the Lakes at Schuler Ridge Planned Development District, PDD, to high-density single-family residential, R1H. The property subject to this rezoning application is comprised of approximately 7.86 acres of land located at the 8,000 block of West Farm Road 194, and the property is currently vacant. The applicant owns an adjacent parcel to the west, which is also under consideration for rezoning. The applicant intends to develop the parcels as part of a future phase of Old Savannah subdivision. The following paragraphs contain brief analyses of present site conditions as well as the proposal's relationship to adopted plans of the city. The city's comprehensive plan generally encourages the expansion of residential development through proactive rezoning of land at appropriate locations. Appropriate locations are described generally throughout the plan with regard to the relationship of land at particular locations to infrastructure capable of supporting various intensities and densities of use. The 2021 Comprehensive Plan and Land Use Plan identifies land use goals and objectives relating to residential development, including the following. Goal: support market conditions to develop a greater variety of residential and commercial options. Objective: support a variety of housing developments and styles to ensure a range of options are available. Goal: to support new development that is well connected to the existing community. Objective 1: encourage development that improves and expands upon existing infrastructure. Objective 2: to promote development aligning with current adopted plans of the city. Goal: to recognize potential infill sites as opportunities for development while mitigating impacts to adjacent established properties. Objective: support the development of vacant parcels as opportunities for densification that is harmonious with surrounding development. The general trend of development in the vicinity of the subject property in recent years has been the development of residential subdivisions. The subject property is surrounded by the lakes at Schuler Ridge Planned Development District to the north and the east, Christian County Agricultural A1 zone property to the south, and Agricultural AG zone property to the west. The land uses permitted in the high-density single-family residential R1H zoning district include single-family dwellings, residential accessory structures, golf courses, country clubs, and schools. Regarding the capacity to serve potential developments in land use, municipal water and sewer service, this site is not currently connected to municipal utilities. The development of the parcel will require connection to the city's water and sanitary sewer systems. The exact locations of water and sanitary sewer connections will be determined during development of the property. Sanitary sewer would flow to the Schuler Creek lift station before traveling through a force main to the wastewater treatment facility. The water and sewer system currently have capacity to serve a potential development. Regarding transportation, the Republic City Code will require the development of the subject property to include the extension of internal public streets to the boundary lines, sidewalks, and the construction of public streets of sufficient width to accommodate the development. A traffic impact study has been completed by the applicant and reviewed by the city. The report indicates no major improvements are needed to the city's existing transportation system to accommodate the increase in traffic generated by the proposed development. Regarding the floodplain, this subject parcel does not contain a special floodplain hazard area. Sinkholes, the subject parcel does not contain any identified sinkholes. Staff considers the proposed zoning amendment rezoning to be generally consistent with the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan, consistent with the trend of development in the vicinity of the site, generally compatible with surrounding land uses, and able to be adequately served by municipal facilities. Based upon this analysis performed without the benefit of evidence and testimony of a public hearing, staff recommends the approval of this application.
Thank you, Chris. Is the applicant present? And if so, does the applicant wish to speak? Applicant not coming forward. Is there anyone in favor of the application that wishes to speak? No one coming forward. Is there anyone opposed? Is there anyone who is opposed to the application that wishes to speak?
Can you hear me?
Is that all I have on my screen? Is your name is Brian?
Brian, and I thought the video was connected. I'm Brian E. Saunders.
I'm sorry.
Brian, what is
I'm
your
Brian.
last name and your address?
It's Brian E. Saunders, 1700 Terrell.
Okay, Mr. Saunders, talk to us.
And I'm not either for or against, and that's what the challenge we had with the previous application. I was waiting for an opportunity of position of neutrality. So
we don't have neutrals here. Sorry. So you fit it in either place. I'm okay. Go ahead.
Against it. I just wanted to, as a previous inquiry, and I am now confused by the explanation that the process is to approve density and then it goes to the city for the actual plat approval. How can you approve density not knowing ingress and egress and approach? And how could you do a traffic study without that? That was only my concern. I have property south and building here, and I just have I'm not a concern. It's a curiosity of where the streets are going to be cut into the two highways, both north and south. And then as it enters the cul-de-sac, that's the interest, the curiosity I have, because I see a lot of development going out here, and I don't want to cut back a man's opportunity to develop his property. I just want to know and think I have a right as a citizen who pays taxes, how that's going to be fairly developed. So the questions I've got is where the street's going to connect to the major streets. And as it's been explained, you won't do that until the next step. Well, it seems backwards to me. How can you approve density without knowing the potential development of the size of the lots and the amount of houses and how the streets are going to connect to existing city streets? And then one comment, you see on the previous application, there's no sinkhole, but the map you demonstrated here on my screen shows clearly a sinkhole. So that's it. I'm just trying to figure out here how the development's going to be approved and where the streets are going to connect. But if you approve density and you've approved that, and then you move to the next step of the city, then it seems like it's late. It seems like it's backwards.
I think all of us understand what your issue is. Is there anything else? And we will answer your question.
No, I don't belittle a man or a woman trying to develop their property. I just, as an intersection that affects how I'm driving on the streets, and I'm going to be a taxpayer to this community, and will be driving the streets regularly, how dense the traffic will be. And if you can't determine where they're going to cut the streets into existing streets, I don't know how you can explain that to the citizens.
Is that it?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak?
Yeah, I've got one question. Steve Pullis, I live over in Schuler Ridge. And when I drive through phase 1 of the Savannah development, I noticed a lot of the homes there had for rent signs from the same phone number. I guess I'm just curious if we're building these developments in big businesses or somebody's coming in and buying them all up and then using them for rent, or if they're actually going to families.
Steve, can you provide your first, last names and then address?
Yeah, it's Stephen Pullis, Stephen, and Pulles. And I live on 1036 South Cumberland Avenue.
Anything else, Mr. Pullis?
No, it's more a curiosity that, you want families to move in and everything. I just don't want to see big businesses buying up a lot of the homes and then just renting them out. But that's more of a what is happening.
Okay.
Ransom, we do have a Kevin White that has his hand raised. Mr. White, if you'd like to comment.
I'm not hearing anything. Mr. White? Okay. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak? Opposed or neutral?
Chris, I sent a ask to unmute in case he is muted, Kevin, but Kelly has also raised her hand, which I think they're in the same vehicle together.
Yours down.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I see. Ms. White, do you have comment?
Yes,
Okay.
it's actually, it's my mother-in-law, and she's in the car and she can't connect. So she's gonna provide her address through my phone, okay?
If we can hear it.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please provide your name also.
Yes, my name is Peggy White, and my address is 200 Woodman Lane. and just south of both of the parcels you're talking about rezoning. I agree with the gentleman that just spoke. I'm very concerned about where streets are going to come in and out. I'm very concerned about an increase in traffic out there. We bought property out there, actually in Christian County on the other side of the county road, for a little peace and quiet. We spent over $500,000 on our property and our house. And I'm going to be very upset if we're infringed on by a bunch of people that really don't care. So yeah, I'm very much opposed until we get a lot more information. I don't like being railroaded through.
Okay, I understand your concern. Anything else from you, Ms. White?
Yeah, a lot else from me, but I don't figure you want to hear it at this point.
Well, it's up to you.
Well, I spent a lot of money to buy out there because we were told that the land across from us would probably not be developed into high density because of the lack of infrastructure. And at that time, it was not Republic property.
And that was your realtor that told you that?
We were not notified when it became Republic property. We were in the building process when that happened. We should have been notified, and we were not.
Now, the person that told you that, was that the same as Kelly, Ms.
Yes,
Kelly White?
I followed up with a call
Realtor?
and they confirmed.
It was a realtor?
A realtor told me that, and then I called city offices and they confirmed, but I cannot tell you who I talked to. It's been 2 years and I've slept twice since then.
All right. All right. Anything else? I'm trying to deal with all these issues at once.
Okay, well, I'm very concerned about where the roads are going to go in and out because I absolutely positively do not want a road directly across from our cul-de-sac.
All right. I understand.
I mean, that's just, I'm gonna have to pick it out there if that happens. I'm very concerned about the high density because I'm not impressed with what I'm seeing in the first 2 or 3 phases of this old Savannah. They're packing them in there very tight. They're all exactly the same and they're being rented. Now, to me, that's very detrimental to a neighborhood. That's going to drive down the value of my property, which, like I said, was valued just recently at $607,000. That's quite an investment, and I don't want it destroyed. Still hearing me?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I think we understand your question. That's the same question that was raised before concerning how you go about the platting process. And we'll talk about that.
How can you approve zoning when you don't have the planning done?
If you're done, we'll talk about it.
Okay, go ahead.
The process, Ms. White, the process here is not to have a dialogue. The process is for you all, whoever it is that's in this case opposed or neutral to this project, to give us your point of view and tell us why. And then we will discuss, we will tell you what the answers are if we have answers. If we don't have answers, we'll tell you that.
Okay, let me tell you this. We came out, we're sitting in the parking lot out in front of the civic courthouse. And there were a lot of cars out here when we arrived and people were confused because we were all expecting to come to a meeting. So there are a lot of people unable to hook up in a Zoom meeting to speak up against this. So I don't appreciate the way this has been handled and kind of shoved around. It's to me, it's like you're trying to pull a fast one. I'm 75 years old and it's not my first time around the block. So I am very much opposed, and I think there are a lot of other people opposed that just weren't going to have an opportunity to speak tonight.
The hearing was advertised, the meeting was advertised as being a Zoom meeting.
The meeting was advertised as being out here at the courthouse at 540 Civic Boulevard. We didn't realize until we got here and started trying to find out why nobody was here. We were not notified it was going to be a Zoom meeting. That's not notification.
I agree with her. This is Stephen Bullis. We had thought it was 6:30 at the courthouse. Still, I tried to find how to get there. And then I found out and I thought it was still 6:30. So I logged in at 6:15 only to find out it's at 6. So my opinion is you need to reschedule this to give people time to come out
Here, here, yes,
This is just not right. Sorry.
I agree.
Well, my agenda says it's online. My
That's
agenda.
right,
says
but
it's
as a
16.
citizen,
To us in the
as a
certified
citizen,
letter.
we didn't see that.
I got a certified letter. It said it would be here. In fact, I got 2 certified letters saying it would be here at 540 Civic Boulevard in the municipal court building. I object to the change of venue.
Stop a
That-
minute, stop a minute, Ms. White. I want to ask a question of staff. What did the meeting notices say that went out in the mail?
Thank you, Chairman. I can address that. Both our legal notification in the newspaper does include the actual address of City Council's chamber at the Republic Police Department or as determined. So we do provide a clause in that legal notification that we provide to everyone that if circumstances do deem it necessary to have a Zoom, then that will be published on the website and provided on the direct public notification at City Hall, which is what we did.
Okay. That's the way it is. All right, Ms. White, Ms. Peggy White, do you have anything else? Because I think once again, we're going to address these most of the issues that you've raised and the issues that Mr. Saunders raised and also Mr. Pullis raised. So
Are you asking me something?
Yeah, only asking you if there's anything else.
Well, I agree with the other gentleman. I think this meeting, this part of it should be tabled and it's rescheduled so we can meet in person. So the actual number of people who want to oppose have the opportunity.
I'm not going to table it without a motion. Somebody's going to have to make a motion and we'll have to discuss it. But that's not going to happen until after we get done with the hearing.
Okay, I see the handwriting on the wall. I'm done.
Well, I'm sorry you think you're getting railroaded, but that's not the case.
Yes, I do, very much so.
The hearing is for the purpose, as I told you, Ms. White, the hearing is for the purpose of listening to your concerns. We have heard your concerns. Then once we close out the hearing, the board talks among themselves and discusses and may, in fact, answer the questions that are raised by people like you who have concerns. And that's what we did on the last one. And that's what you weren't on that. So you don't know that. You weren't online, but your daughter-in-law was. So,
okay, well, we're trying to get online. It was very hard to connect. We're not going to hang around here for the rest of the meeting because, like I said, we're sitting in the parking lot where the meeting was supposed to take place. So we're probably going to get off of here.
Ma'am, I'm telling you, as soon as we're done with the people like you who have concerns as a part of the hearing, we close this hearing out and then we discuss the things that went on in that matter. We're going to
So you won't do this. You won't have the discussion online or a vote online?
We're going to have maybe both. But we
Where
can't
it's visible?
get done with this process, this particular point in this hearing. I'm going to close the hearing out as soon as everybody's done giving their concerns.
Okay, clarify for me. You're going to vote while people are watching via Zoom?
Yes.
Okay, could you do this part of it sooner rather than later? Because we're sitting out in the parking lot and frankly.
I just said that. I just said that to you.
That's not what you said.
Yes, I did. Listen.
You said you've got several zoning issues. Are you going to go through all of them?
No. Listen.
Okay.
Yes, I intend to go through all of them, but not right now. Listen.
Okay.
Listen
You
to me.
weren't clear.
Listen, please. We're going to finish this particular zoning matter. We're going to finish the hearing. During the hearing, we don't, surprise, surprise, we don't have a dialogue with people that are speaking normally. But I'm trying to explain the process to you. And once we have heard from everyone, we'll close this hearing. We have 6 more hearings after this, but we're closing this hearing now. And then we, the board, starts talking among ourselves in open session with you present if you want to be here. And we talk about all the things that were discussed. We may have questions of the applicant. We don't, because he's not here, he or she's not here. We may have questions of you, but we're going to discuss it and try and get the answers to you. Many of the questions that have been asked by the 3 of you are procedural. That means there's just, the process is as follows. We explained that on the first hearing, which you weren't present for. And it's going to be the same on this hearing. And I'm sorry it wasn't carefully discussed, but we will try and make sure everybody understands how the procedure works, because that's important. And I realize this is we all realize this is your house. We all live in Republic. I've lived in Republic for 40-something years.
Big woo.
So is there anyone else that's opposed to the application that wishes to speak? Hearing none, I'm closing this hearing now. The board, the commission, what issues do you have? Let's talk about, Chris, can you address the issues that Mr. Saunders had? And
I'll address it.
Ms. White, Peggy White, regarding what would be the platting issue. Describe how that procedure works in relation to what we're doing here tonight.
So when we look at a rezone, we're looking at the city's capacity to serve that with municipal utilities, sewer and wastewater, as well as the ability of the transportation system in the area to serve that. We assume that the property will have the most dense configuration that zoning district allows. And that's what we look at capacity. That's what we make our assumptions off of. Because we don't know exactly what the layout will be, that's the safest, most conservative estimate that we can use, is that someone would build it out as far as possible. So that's the way we look at those issues. We do not have, in many of these cases, we do not have an exact configuration for what they plan to do. Sometimes we do have some idea of that configuration, but there is no requirement for a final configuration of those lots on the parcels that are being rezoned until after the rezone goes forward. And the reason for that is because that's an expensive part of moving forward with the project. If the property is not rezoned, we will not enter into an application for someone to build out that property in that zoning district. It's just not the appropriate zoning for that. It's a bunch of extra work for everybody and money spent by applicants that's unnecessary. So we go ahead and we require that zoning be assigned to the district. And then after zoning is assigned, someone is able to build out whatever configuration of lots that zoning allows that they would like. As far as the sinkhole question that was addressed, that's my mistake on the report. There is a sinkhole on the 21-018, the first one that we went over, the first rezone. That, and on the final plat for that, they will be required to meet the city's sinkhole ordinance, which means that they won't be allowed to build within 30 feet of any sinkhole. So, and I apologize, that's a typo. I'll have that fixed before this goes for council. As far as the rental issue goes, the city does not keep track of who owns property, particularly if they are rentals or not. We don't have a mechanism in place for that. So I can't speak to whether whether there's a majority of homes there, whether it's a third. I couldn't speak to that. It is the case that sometimes people build out subdivisions, and sometimes homes are owned by companies. I don't know if that's what's going on in this one, though. I couldn't speak to that. I'd like to ask the city engineer to speak a little bit on the traffic issues and how those traffic impact studies evaluate property without the knowledge that we've just talked about.
Sure. So we have reviewed the traffic impact study for the subdivision. It outlines 3 connection points, 2 of which will be on Williamsburg Walk, which is Lynn Street as it kind of turns to go toward that roundabout down there, with another one on Old Farm Road, Farm Road 89, I believe is the old Farm Road. So there will be no direct connection to County Line Road, as it is a primary arterial and we do not typically allow connections to those. Williamsburg Walk is a secondary arterial, which will be why most of the connections will be made there. They align with Appomattox Avenue and another street that is being built currently as part of phase 3 of Old Savannah. So those intersections will align there. We did review the traffic study. No additional improvements were required by this traffic study based on the classification of this road and the traffic that will be coming out of this subdivision. A little bit more on, I believe there was a question of stormwater earlier. Stormwater will be required to be detained on site and released at pre-development flow rate. So what that means is the amount of water that is coming off of that site now, the rate at which it leaves the site, it will still be required to leave the site at that rate post-construction. So once all those homes are built. And kind of like Chris touched on, the traffic study looks at the maximum possible density of housing based on this zoning. So what it looked at was if everything goes right and they get everything they want in there, this is the maximum amount of houses. That's not necessarily what they can actually build. So, and I believe that covers most of the things that were asked between myself and Chris.
2 other points procedurally. One, this is a recommendation to the city council. So they will be considering this application at their meeting. They have the final say on whether or not the zoning is changed. Second point, zoning there's all kinds of zoning. There's commercial, there's manufacturing, there's residential, and there's multi-resident zoning. The one thing you can be assured of by the zoning that's applied for here is that it's going to be houses. It's going to be single family houses because it's R1H, it's residential. It's not going to be apartments. And so that, if that helps any, that is one thing that you know from this zoning. A couple of points that people don't understand. The city can dictate how ultimately, or at least encourage how houses sit on a lot, but they can't tell what kind of construction it is. And so you have a lot size. The lot sizes are determined by the zoning in residential and that. Now, if you have a concern about the application, I encourage you to go to the city council meeting and express your concerns at that time, because you've got that secondary right. When and if the zoning is changed, and when and if after that the applicant or whoever the person is that's developing the property goes forward with this process, I'm going to say it differently than Chris did, but it's going to be the same. They will file a plat, a proposed plat, and we will look at it again at that time. And at that time, we do talk about all the things that you're really concerned about. It's not a hearing, but it's a platting process. And I can assure you that there have been many pieces of property that have been where we've had a zoning approved, where the commission has rejected the plat or had modifications on the plat so that it covers issues that are brought forward that we know are an issue, or that we can see from looking at the plat or a potential issue. And that includes transportation issues and otherwise. With respect to transportation, both of the people that spoke about that said this. I'm going to say it again. There are all kinds of, there's a transportation plan that the district has. And so it sounded to me like you were emptying off, the property would empty onto a secondary arterial and not a primary arterial, which means it's not going to go on the big road. It's not going to open a cut in the big road. It's going to be in a secondary that then ultimately would go into the primary, I assume. So I hope those answers it may not satisfy you, it may not make you feel better, but it's answers to your questions as to how the process works. We're not blowing people off here. We're trying to do this in an orderly fashion. This is the same method that we've used for years in trying to go through these processes. So this is where we are. Does anyone in the commission have any other questions about this property in this application? I'm moving.
The only thing I would add is just, we moved this to Zoom because of the pandemic. So we're all living through this. Zoom is not ideal for anybody, but it's not part of railroading anything.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak about the application itself? I'm talking here to the commission. Then do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve to recommend the approval of an application to change the zoning map by Old Savannah LLC for 7.86 acres at the 8,000 block of West Farm Road 194 from the lakes at Schuler Ridge Planned Development District PDD to high density single family residential R1H. Do you hear a second?
Second.
John, that was John, wasn't it?
Darren and I can fight over it.
Go ahead, John.
You can throw rock, paper, scissors for it. All right. Call the roll.
Commissioner Campbell.
Aye.
Commissioner Hyder.
You're muted.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Ellis.
Aye.
Commissioner DeBrava.
Aye.
And Commissioner Alexander.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to the third rezone. Rezone 22-003, public hearing and possible vote to recommend the approval of an application to change the zoning classification of 10.20 acres. That's 10.20 acres located at 7294 West Farm Road 144 from agricultural to heavy industrial, M2. Staff?
Thank you, Chairman. Springfield Rugby Football Club has applied for the zoning classification of approximately 10.20 acres. This is located at the former location of the rugby club at 7294 West Farm Road 144. The property is currently zoned agricultural, and they are requesting a rezoning to heavy manufacturing industrial M2. The property was recently annexed into the City of Republic. The property contains a single structure currently utilized by the club and associated improvements. The city's comprehensive plan generally encourages the expansion of commercial development through proactive rezoning at appropriate locations. Again, with the city's comprehensive plan, we are looking at the relationship of land at particular locations to infrastructure capable of supporting various densities and intensities of uses. We're looking at coordination with current infrastructure, encouragement of the redevelopment and integration of the former Brookline area, The rezoning of this parcel is consistent with the city and regional planned improvements along the perimeters of the State Highway MM corridor. The general trend of development in the vicinity of the subject property along West Farm Road 144 and State Highway MM is new construction and redevelopment of industrial, manufacturing, and commercial uses of high to middling intensities. The subject property is surrounded by heavy manufacturing M2 to the east, general commercial C2 to the west, Greene County agricultural to the north, and then James River Expressway to the south. The land uses permitted in the heavy manufacturing zoning district include industrial manufacturing uses of high intensity, as well as all of those uses permitted in the local commercial, general commercial, and light manufacturing zoning districts. Convoy of Hope is in the process of acquiring the property and does intend to incorporate the property into their overall master plan. Their current warehouse facility is in the dark blue area directly east of the proposed parcel. Development on the property will tie onto the existing municipal water sanitary sewer services located on the Convoy of Hope property directly to the east. A looped water main system at the Convoy of Hope warehouse is available approximately 270 feet to the east and can provide sufficient water to this particular site. The sanitary sewer will flow from the site to the Brookline North lift station, then on to the Brookline South lift station south of James River Expressway, on to the McElhaney lift station, and finally to the Schuler Creek lift station. From the Schuler Creek lift station is then pumped all the way to the wastewater treatment facility on the northwest portion of town. The water system, named lift stations, and wastewater treatment facilities do have the current capacity to serve the intended use. A traffic study was not required for the rezoning application, as the development of this property will be in conjunction with ongoing development of the Convoy of Hope World Headquarters site. The property does currently have access to West Farm Road 144. The subject parcel does not contain any floodplain area, nor does it contain any sinkhole areas. For staff recommendation, we do consider the proposed zoning map amendment or rezoning to be generally consistent with the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan, consistent with the trend of development in the vicinity of the site, compatible with surrounding land uses, and able to be served by municipal facilities. Based upon this analysis, staff is recommending the approval of this application.
Thank you. First, hear from the applicant, if the applicant is present.
Yeah, good evening. You have Ricky Haas on. My address is 550 East St. Louis in Springfield, Missouri. I'm with Olson, and we are representing the property owner as well as the Convoy of Hope. And as Karen said, the property is under contract, and the intent is to purchase that and incorporate it into their overall development. And with that, I'm here to answer any questions and be happy to help as I can. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Haas. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone that wishes to speak opposed to the application or neutral? Not hearing anyone, I'll close the hearing. Commission? Comments, questions, or motions?
I make a motion to recommend the approval of rezoning of 22-003.
Okay, I have a motion to recommend the approval of an application to change the zoning classification of 10.20 acres located at 7294 West Farm Road 144 from agricultural to heavy industrial. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Yes.
Any discussion on the motion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Ellis,
Aye.
Commissioner Hyder,
Aye.
Commissioner Campbell,
Aye.
Commissioner Alexander,
Aye.
and Commissioner DeBrava.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Move to the next hearing. 22-004. Public hearing and possible vote to recommend the approval of an application to change the zoning classification of approximately 40 acres located at 3445 East Hines Street from medium-density, single-family residential R1M to high-density, single-family residential R1H. Staff?
Thank you, Chairman. S6 Tiger Creek LLC has applied for this rezoning application of approximately 40 acres located at 3445 East Hines Street. The current zoning is medium density, single family residential, and they're requesting a rezone to high density, single family residential. The property currently contains a single residential structure and an accessory structure. The applicant intends to develop the property into a residential subdivision. The city's comprehensive plan does encourage the expansion of residential development through proactive rezoning at appropriate locations. Again, when looking at the comprehensive plan, we're looking at the relationship of land at particular locations to infrastructure capable of supporting various intensities and densities of uses. The subject property is currently surrounded by medium density, single family residential to the west, which is the Liberty Place subdivision. Greene County agricultural property to the north, Greene County agricultural property to the east, which is actually across State Highway ZZ, and both Greene County and City of Republic agricultural zone properties directly south on the south side of East Hines Street. The land uses permitted in the high density single family residential zoning district includes single family residential structures and accessory uses. Development of the property will require connecting to existing municipal water and sewer services in the Liberty Place subdivision to the west. The water main system will connect to an existing water main on East Colonial Street and to the water main running on the north side of East Hines Street, creating a looped water system through the proposed subdivision. Development of the property will require the relocation of the existing lift station currently located in Liberty Place Phase 2 to facilitate gravity flow through a proposed development at this location. The relocation of the lift station is required for sanitary sewer service and will be a cost associated with the development of the property. This is to be paid by the development or the developer during actual construction. The flow will travel from the relocated lift station to the Schuler Creek lift station before it is then pumped back up to the wastewater treatment facility. The water system, the named lift stations, and the wastewater treatment facility do have current capacity to serve a proposed subdivision at the proposed location. A traffic impact study, or TIS, was required for the rezoning application. Development of the property will require adherence to the city's transportation plan, the adopted transportation map, and improvements required by the TIS during full build out. The TIS specifically addressed full residential build out with a connection to the Liberty subdivision to the west via Colonial Street and 2 city street connections to Hines Street. Specifics regarding compliance with the TIS and the adopted plans of the city will be addressed during the preliminary platting process. The subject parcel does contain a small area of floodplain. This is on the northeast portion of the property. It also contains a small area of Corps of Engineers Blue Line Stream. Development of the property will require adherence to both local, state, and federal regulations regarding floodplain and blue line streams. The subject property does not contain any identified sinkholes. Staff does consider the proposed zoning amendment or rezone to be generally consistent with the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan, consistent with the trend of development in the vicinity of the site, compatible with surrounding land uses, and able to be served by municipal facilities. Based upon this analysis, staff is recommending approval of the rezoning application.
Thank you, Karen. Is there, is the applicant present, and does the applicant wish to come forward?
Yes, my name is Greg Whitlock. I am with Whitlock Engineering representing the developer. My address is 2131 West Republic Road, 510 Springfield, Missouri. This particular property, as you said, is currently zoned medium density single family. This was done back in 2005. Preliminary plat was approved for it in 2005 as well, with 110 lots. It was formerly known as Liberty Place Phase 3. It was the third phase of the development to the west. If this zoning change is approved, it looks like we can increase the lot count to around 120 lots, which with the floodplain issues, it, you know, the increased cost of development, it was just desirable to try to rezone it to the high density single family. The traffic study, we're proposing 2 connections to Hines Street, and one would be an extension to a road in Liberty Place Phase 2. The traffic study has indicated that the connection to Hines will operate at a level of surface of A overall, and no improvements are necessary to Hines. We are also in the process of making application to the Corps of Engineers to rechannelize with the existing stream to accommodate the subdivision. So I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. We'll see if there are any and get back to you on that. Is there anyone else that is in favor of the application that wishes to speak?
Yes, my name is Stu Stinger. I'm at 5051 South National in Springfield. I'm the owner and developer of Tiger Creek, or the proposed development. Greg has explained the engineering side of it. I'm here to answer any questions if you have for the developer. Little background on myself. I'm been in a family real estate business. We've been developing around the area for 30 or 40 years, and we're very excited to do something in Republic. Like Greg said, we've got 120 planned lots there. What we do is we go in, we set up a homeowners association. We have architectural control, so all the building plans go through and are approved by them. And then we run the association from our office as well.
Thank you, Mr. Stinger. Anyone else in favor of the application that wishes to speak? Hearing no one, is there anyone opposed to the application that wishes to speak?
Yes.
Is that Ms. Thoman?
Yeah, Sarah Tainen.
Can you give your name so Karen can get it down, please?
It's Sarah, last name Thoenen.
Okay.
Your address, Sarah, please.
654 North Lincoln Avenue, Republic, Missouri.
Okay, what do you have to say to us?
I am opposed to the change just because of traffic issues. Hines Street is already congested with adding those 2 other outlets there. I just feel like that road is going to be even more congested. And then that's the main concern there is the traffic.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay, here's the way we'll do this. I'm not sure if you were on when we had a previous a group of people that were had issues that needed answers. As soon as we complete this hearing, which will just on this matter, we will go into a session where, in open session, where the board will discuss that and we'll get answers for your questions, because we can address some of the answers. Some of them we may not be able to. It just depends. You also have the developer here, and you have the applicant. So we might very well be able to get some of the answers, if not all, for you. Is there anything else you would wish you have?
That's it from me.
Okay, man. You have two other people that have hands up. Melissa Barton.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, thank you. I'm not necessarily in opposition to the zoning change, but my concern is also the traffic. I also live in Liberty Place in phase 1, and it's mainly the morning traffic from 7 to 7:40, as I'm either taking my daughter to the high school or as I'm going to work into Springfield. Turning left onto ZZ is challenging at times. There's that traffic. There's just a line of traffic of everyone trying to turn left to go either to the high school or to work or into Republic. And then you've got all the people coming from all the farm roads south of us. And even with more housing development coming in down there as well, it's just going to increase the traffic on ZZ. So I was surprised that the traffic study didn't require any improvements to be made to that intersection. So that's my concern.
Melissa, can you provide your address, please?
Oh, yes, it's 775 North Delaware.
Thank you.
We will, as I said to Sarah previously, we will close this hearing out in a minute, and then we'll discuss these things, and traffic seems to be the issue we're going to discuss. I have Melissa Stogsdill with a hand up.
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, my name is Melissa Stogsdill, and I am at 670 North Lincoln Avenue. And my concerns also mirror the two ahead of me with the traffic. Getting onto ZZ is very hard at rush hour, and there seems to be a lot of accidents that occur there.
Okay. Anything else?
And the only other question, I guess that I have would be about the zoning. I just want to make sure that that would not be a duplex situation.
Okay. I'll just answer that question right out. No, it won't be, because it's R1H. So that's individual homes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm correct on that, aren't I, Chris?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else that's opposed to the application or neutral on the application who wishes to give us something? Come forward now.
That hasn't been updated in a long time. The accident. We are, but we can't. We can't link it to our.
I don't see any other hands. Given that, close this hearing. I for the two people that raised issues about traffic, could somebody explain the traffic, how you do traffic flow and how you look at that initially at this stage, and then how it's looked at if this goes to a plat?
Yes, I'll have Garrett Brickner, our city engineer, explain the traffic study and how we analyze that in our decisions for recommendation or not.
Right. So as Mr. Whitlock stated, a traffic study was conducted on 2 additional connections to Hines Street, and then one back to Colonial Street, which will go through the existing Liberty Place subdivision. Based on the traffic distribution through those two connections, there were not any improvements warranted on those two connections themselves. The ZZ and Hines intersection is outside of what would be expected to be improved by this developer. That is an intersection that is on the city's radar, though. We do plan to apply for a cost share with MoDOT to assist with updating and improving that intersection. And I do encourage anybody on this call who uses that intersection on a regular basis to contact MoDOT and Greene County, as Greene County has Farm Road 178 on the other side of ZZ, and let them know about your concerns. They do respond to citizen concerns a lot more than just us coming forward with them and saying that.
Phone numbers.
You can contact MoDOT at 766-8900. That doesn't sound right, actually. Let me find out real quick.
895-7600.
That's it. I had all the numbers just in the wrong order. So we do encourage you guys to reach out to them. But like I said, the city has reviewed the traffic study and concurs with the recommendations.
And Chairman, as far as the plating, if the rezoning is approved by City Council, the developer can then proceed with submitting a preliminary plat to the Planning and Zoning Commission for review. That's when we will look at the particulars of code compliance regarding driveways, public streets, stormwater, compliance with the local, state, and federal regulations regarding the floodplain and the blue line stream.
I hope that those responses answered your all's questions. It is a process by which we take a preliminary, we get a preliminary plat, and then it comes back to us again to look at for formal approval by the commission on the final plat. And sometimes it takes more than 2 meetings. I mean, it just depends on the uniqueness of the property. We look at the uniqueness of the property to determine where things should go, the flow pattern, whether or not you can get fire equipment into the subdivision, and many other things. So it's not that we just throw it down and say, okay, fine, build. It doesn't work that way. This is just the first stage. And on this change, this is a change in the zoning classification for the property. So if this will go, this is merely a recommendation to council, or it may not be a recommendation, but if we vote to recommend, it will go to council and it will be heard next week. Is that correct, Karen?
Correct. The first reading for all our public hearings this evening will be on Tuesday, February 15th at 6 p.m.
Okay, and you have the right to go, and they hold a hearing just like we've held a hearing, and you can express your concerns there about the change in zoning. And sometimes a change in zoning, the issues on zoning changes are different than the changes than some of the issues that you have, which are more the development of the property and the plat. But I would encourage you to go to council if you have concerns about the change in zoning, if we make and if we are going to approve it.
Chairman, I have a question for staff or for the developer.
Go for it.
Is it my understanding that this is already zoned R1M, and we're making a recommendation or not to rezone to R1H? Is it my understanding that currently it is 110 lots, and if this is approved, it goes to 120?
Kind of.
Ish?
So it is, yes, very ish. So the property is currently zoned medium density. The previous preliminary plat had around 120 lots platted. That plat did expire 2 years after it was originally approved. So that was back in like 2007, 2008. What they are proposing will allow for an additional like 10 lots or so, 15 lots, depending on exact configuration. So in the grand scheme of things, it's a relatively small increase. If the development or if the rezoning were to fail this evening and a city council, the developer could proceed just to a preliminary plat under the R1M zoning, which could be a density of roughly 120 lots.
So this vote tonight is merely just adding 10 lots.
Yes, it equates to about 10 lots. Yes.
Yeah, you never know until you get to the final plat, because there's all kinds of things that could be a problem with the property that prevents the ability to have the full measure. If you do the division of the property, that you might think you'd get 120, but you really only get 115 because.
Right. But the max on this proposal will be 120.
Yeah, and I did hear
roughly, yeah.
Mr. Whitlock was talking about some water that runs through it, so that could be something that could affect the ability to place to place residences or lots in this property.
Yeah, if this property did not have the two blue line streams running through it, you could get the lot count higher, but really with the streams running through there, it's really not feasible to go much higher than 120. So.
Understand.
Yeah, all those issues, of course, are issues that for another day and another discussion, because even though this is zoned R1H, and you could get whatever it was 120 lots in there, you could decide that you only want to put 10 lots on it. I mean, that's your choice. It doesn't make sense, but you don't have to put all those lots on there. So anyone else have any comments, questions? If not, give me a motion.
Just about to log out, but thank you much, people working here, council members, chairmen, all these people for staying up late, doing these meetings and keeping us informed.
Well, I appreciate your comment. Thank you.
I make a motion to recommend the approval of rezone 22-004.
Okay, so that would be a motion to recommend the approval of an application to change the zoning classification of approximately 40 acres located at 3445 East Hines Street from medium density single family residential R1M to high density single family residential R1H. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Call the roll.
Commissioner Alexander,
Aye.
Commissioner Ellis,
Aye.
Commissioner Campbell,
Aye.
Commissioner DeBrava,
Aye.
and Commissioner Hyder.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Next hearing, VACA 22-01, application to vacate a portion of Old North Brookline Avenue. Staff?
Thank you, Chairman. The Buildings Department is requesting the vacation of approximately 380 feet of North Brookline Avenue. This is the former Old State Highway MM, located at the end, well, it's actually directly east of the new or the current State Highway MM. The city street currently provides access to 2 private properties and is a dead-end street. It is shown on our screen right now, outlined in blue. We are requesting this vacation with this segment currently providing the sole access to the 2 private properties. Recently, these properties and two adjacent properties have been purchased by the same developer with the intent to develop a mixed-use development on the property, totaling approximately 30 acres. The vacated portion of the property will be returned to the adjacent properties now under the same ownership and incorporated into their overall mixed-use development plan, and then finally replatted during final platting. The remainder of the southern portion of North Brookline Avenue with access to State Highway MM will remain a city street. North Brookline Avenue will dead end into the proposed development. We have reviewed the vacation request. The actual proposal will reduce city street maintenance by approximately 385 feet. There is no impact on adjacent properties. The proposal has no anticipated adverse impact on the city's water, wastewater, or stormwater currently in place. The proposal is also not anticipated to have any negative impact on public services or emergency services. We are recommending the approval of the requested street vacation.
Thank you, Karen. Is the applicant, is that the city?
Yes, we are the applicant.
Okay, is there anyone else that wishes to speak in favor of the application?
My name's Derek Lee, and I'm with Lee Engineering, and I represent the landowner on both sides of the street. I don't really have a presentation for you, but if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you,
Eric,
sir.
can you provide your address, please?
1200 East Woodhurst. That's in Springfield.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone that wishes to speak who's opposed to the application or neutral? Hearing no one, seeing no hands, I'll close the hearing. Any discussion? I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve vacation 22-001.
Thank you, Brian. Do you hear a second?
Second.
I didn't read what the motion was. Help me out here on a vacate. This is this doesn't go to council, right?
No, it actually does. This is a public hearing, so council will hear it at first reading next Tuesday.
Okay, so this is VACA 22-001, and the motion was to recommend the approval of a vacate to vacate a portion of Old North Brookline Avenue. All right, that changed the second? Probably not. So I hear a motion in a second.
Second.
Voted.
Commissioner Hyder.
Aye.
Commissioner DeBrava.
Aye.
Commissioner Campbell.
Aye.
Commissioner Alexander.
Aye.
And Commissioner Ellis.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next item of business is PD 22-001, public hearing and possible vote to recommend the approval of an application to change the zoning classification of approximately 62.90 acres located at 2561 South State Highway MM from Eclipse Event Center Planned Development District to Hankins Farm Planned Development District.
Thank you. Republic 63 LLC has applied for the change in zoning classification at 2561 South State Highway MM to Hankins Farm Planned Development District. The property is comprised of approximately 62.90 acres of land, and it's located at the northwest intersection of State Highway MM and East Sawyer Road. The property is currently utilized as farmland and contains several agricultural structures. The applicant is proposing the rezoning of this property to a planned development district to allow for the mixed-use commercial and industrial development consisting of 10 commercial and light industrial manufacturing lots. The development plan itself contains new water, sanitary, sewer, and stormwater systems and 2 new public streets to support the proposed development. The planned development district itself allows for additional flexibility as the development occurs. This flexibility includes minor alignment adjustments and location of lot lines through the administrative replatting process once the construction of all infrastructure is complete and the final plat has been approved. All development will adhere to the specific requirements of the approved development plan. Aspects of the zoning not specifically included in the approved development plan will require compliance with code requirements at the date of actual development. Specifically, there are a multitude of specifics regarding each individual lot, which is included in your packet. I've included the actual zoning designation per lot and then the approximate acreage of each of those lots. All lots will comply with the setback, density, and permitted use requirements of the effective zoning district. The purpose of the planned development regulations, again, is to allow for that mixed use, unconventional, or innovative arrangements of land and public facilities. The proposed development plan does include compliance with the City of Republic's comprehensive plan and other adopted plans of the city. The plan itself does encourage the expansion of development through proactive rezoning of locations appropriate. Again, we always look at the relationship of land at particular locations to the infrastructure capable of supporting the various intensities and densities of the proposed use. The subject site is currently surrounded by existing agricultural, commercial, and industrial zone properties and uses. Directly to the north, we have a remainder of the former PDD, the Eclipse Event Center. We have to the south, the light industrial, that is the Amazon and other Drury Lane industrial area. To the east, across State Highway MM, we have general commercial property. This property directly east is actually subject to a rezoning application next. And then to the west, we have agricultural, and that's the Dynamic Strides facility. The land uses permitted in the applicant's proposal are generally considered to be compatible with surrounding agricultural, commercial, and industrial zone properties and uses in proximity to the subject parcel. This development can be served by City of Republic sanitary sewer and water service. A 15-inch gravity sanitary sewer main currently runs through the property from east to west, parallel to the floodplain to an existing lift station, which is known as the Brookline South Lift Station. An existing 12-inch City of Republic water main is located on the south side of East Sawyer. The water main has been bored under the street with an existing valve located along the property line of the subject property. The development of the subject property will require the addition of new water and gravity sanitary sewer extensions to serve the lots within the actual development. Dedication of the new water and sewer infrastructure will be completed during the final plotting process after construction takes place. The City of Republic is currently working on the relocation of the Brookline South Lift Station further west as work associated with the implementation of the city's wastewater master plan. The relocated lift station will be located on lot 10 of the proposed development. The lift station will be located within a sanitary sewer main and will also contain an access easement from East Sawyer Road. The wastewater generated by the development will flow into the relocated Brookline South Lift Station, onto the McElhaney Lift Station and the Schuler Creek Lift Stations before being pumped through a series of force mains back to the wastewater treatment facility. The water system and the wastewater system do currently have capacity to serve the proposed development. The development plan itself includes the construction of the 2 new public streets that serve the development. These streets will connect East Sawyer Road and South State Highway MM. The public streets will be dedicated to the city during the final plotting process. It does include access to South State Highway MM at the location of an existing deeded access. The existing access point will be upgraded to meet MoDOT requirements, and this access will connect lots 3 and 4 with direct access to State Highway MM. MoDOT will review the public street connection and existing deeded access for compliance with their design standards during the actual infrastructure review process. The development plan contains 1 area designated for stormwater detention. It's designed to accommodate stormwater generated by the actual development. This detention area will be contained within the area of floodplain. The design of the stormwater area and any improvements or construction within the limits of the floodplain or the floodway will be reviewed during the infrastructure review process. As I mentioned, it does include area designated as special flood hazard area or floodplain. Development of the parcels will require compliance with the city's floodplain regulations, in addition to compliance with the Corps of Engineers for any work identified along the blue line stream. The subject parcel does contain 1 identified sinkhole. The development of the parcels will require compliance with that sinkhole regulation standards. For this type of development, and really all developments, it must include site design, providing for sufficient emergency vehicle access, as well as fire protection facilities. Additional elements of code compliance evaluated at the time of infrastructure design impacting the development of the subject property include, but are not limited to, the city's zoning regulations, adopted fire code, and adopted building codes. Staff does consider the proposed rezoning to planned development district to be generally consistent with the goals and objectives of the comprehensive and land use plans, generally consistent with the trend of development in the vicinity of the site, generally compatible with surrounding land uses, and it is able to be served by municipal facilities. Based upon this analysis, we are recommending approval of the application.
Thank you, Karen. Is the applicant present?
This is Derek Lee. I'm with Lee Engineering, and my address is 1200 East Woodhurst in Springfield, and I represent the applicant. And again, I'm just here to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, Mr. Lee, thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak in favor of this application? Hearing no one, is there anyone that wishes to speak opposed to the application or neutral? No one coming forward. I'm going to close the hearing. First question I have is this the matter that was on TV 2 nights ago?
No, it is not.
Okay. Is this not by Amazon?
It is. I believe you're referring actually to our next public hearing.
Okay, good. I was just curious. That's where I get all my news. So, what's the commission think? Someone want to make a motion?
Motion to approve PDD 22-001.
Okay, that would be a motion to recommend the approval of, we are recommending the approval of an application to change the zoning classification of approximately 62.9 acres located at 2561 South State Highway MM from Eclipse Event Center Plan Development District PDD to Hankins Farm Plan Development District PDD.
Second.
Thank you, John. Call the roll.
Commissioner Alexander,
Aye.
Commissioner Campbell,
Aye.
Commissioner DeBrava,
Aye.
Commissioner Ellis,
Aye.
and Commissioner Hyder.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next hearing, PD 22-02. Public hearing and possible vote to recommend the approval of an application to change the zoning classification of approximately 29.39 acres located at the 2500 block of South State Highway MM from General Commercial C2 and Agricultural AG to Iron Grain District Plan Development District PDD.
Thank you, Chairman. Majors Republic number 3 LLC and the Iron Grain District LLC have applied for the zoning classification of approximately 29.39 acres. This is located at the 2500 block of South State Highway MM. This is catty corner from Amazon or directly east of the public hearing that we just held. The property is currently vacant and is utilized as farmland. One single residential structure was recently demolished on one parcel directly north that is currently zoned agricultural. The applicant is proposing the rezoning of the property to a planned development district to allow for a mixed-use commercial and residential development consisting of 5 main areas of development. The developer intends to final plat these areas into several parcels as the parcels are actually developed. Additional adjustments could be made through the city's subdivision review process and the administrative replatting process. The development also contains new water, sanitary sewer, and stormwater systems to support the actual development. Again, with planned developments, these are rezoning tools that allow for additional flexibility as development occurs. This flexibility includes minor alignment and adjustments in development areas through the administrative review process during construction and during the final plotting process. All development will adhere to the specific requirements of the approved development plan. Aspects of the zoning code not specifically included in the approved development plan will default to our zoning code. So outlined in your report tonight, we have described the actual specifics of the development plan, including the general assignment of the zoning districts per area and the total acreage of those areas. The purpose of the planned development regulations, again, is to allow for that mixed use, unconventional, or innovative arrangements of land and public facilities. These are typically hard to develop under the conventional land use and subdivision regulations of the city. The city's comprehensive plan, again, generally encourages the expansion of residential and commercial development through proactive rezoning. We look at a plan with regard to the relationship of land to particular locations to infrastructure capable of supporting various intensities and densities of uses. This is the basis for staff's review of a development plan. The subject site is currently surrounded by existing agricultural, commercial, and industrial zone properties and uses. So directly north, which is actually across James River Expressway, it is agricultural that's currently used as farmland. To the south, across East Sawyer Road, it is also zoned agricultural, which is currently used for a church. To the east, we have general commercial and agricultural. We have Far Better Plumbing Contractor Office and Warehouse, and also the Republic Fire Station number 2. And then to the west, we have the Eclipse Event Center Planned Development District, which was actually subject to the rezoning application public hearing right before this one. The land uses permitted in the applicant's proposal are considered to be generally compatible with surrounding ag, commercial, and industrial zone properties in proximity to the subject parcel. The proposed development can be served by City of Republic sanitary sewer and water service. There is a 15-inch gravity sanitary sewer line that runs through the property parallel to the floodplain to an existing lift station, which was the Brookline South lift station on the west side of State Highway MM. There's an existing 12-inch water main located on the north side of East Sawyer that connects and loops a water main system on East Sawyer to a water main system on State Highway MM. The development of the subject property will require the addition of new water and gravity sanitary sewer main extensions to serve the identified areas within the development plan itself. Dedications of the new water and sewer infrastructure will be completed during the final plating process. The water system, lift stations, and the wastewater treatment facility have been reviewed, and they do have capacity to serve the proposed development at full build out. The development plan itself includes the construction and upgraded commercial access point on State Highway MM. This is at the location of an existing deeded access point right north of Sawyer Road. Additionally, the development will have access to Old Brookline Avenue, which is a city street, and East Sawyer Road, which is also a city street in multiple locations. The development plan itself does not include the construction or dedication of any new city streets. We also recently heard the vacation request for a portion of Old Brookline Avenue. This was for approximately 385 feet of the city street. It's actually in gray on your development plan. If that is approved by council, that area will actually go back to the adjacent properties equally, which are now under the same ownership and a part of this actual development plan. The development plan does contain one area for stormwater detention. It will be designed to accommodate stormwater generated by the development itself. As I mentioned before, it does include an area of floodplain, which is identified generally on the development plan, and will require compliance with the city's floodplain regulations and also the ancillary permits, possibly from the Corps of Engineers for the identified blue line stream. All developments, as I mentioned before, include site design itself, providing for sufficient emergency vehicle access, as well as fire protection facilities. Additional elements of code compliance will be evaluated during infrastructure design and then again during the building permitting process. Staff does consider the proposed rezoning to a planned development district to be generally consistent with the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan and also the land use plan, generally consistent with the trend of development in the vicinity of the site, generally compatible with surrounding land uses, and it is able to be served by City of Republic municipal facilities. Based upon this analysis, staff is recommending the approval of the PDD application request.
Thank you, Karen. Is the applicant present?
My name's Derek Lee. I'm with Lee Engineering, and I'm at 1200 East Woodhurst in Springfield. And again, I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Anyone else who's in favor of the application that wishes to speak? Hearing no one, we'll go to people that are opposed to the application. Is there anyone who's opposed to the application or neutral who wishes to speak? Have no one coming forward, so I'll close the hearing. What's the commission feel like? Remind me here, Chris, on a PDD, we don't see, there's no plat on this. We've got it, right?
This represents, this element of the PDD creation represents a zoning change as well as what constitutes effectively the preliminary plat.
Right. So raise any questions in any of the commissioners' mind?
On the area 4 with the general commercial and multifamily residential, is that to be determined as of later, or?
Correct. They have it identified as it could be either, depending on just really the development market itself. But again, the PDD does allow for this additional flexibility that is not possible through, yes, through traditional zoning and plotting.
It could be both as well, Brian.
Are you talking like stacked? For instance,
Like 60 West.
Yes, that's what I was thinking about.
Yes.
Where you have commercial on the bottom and apartments or multifamily or whatever on top, condos, whatever it is.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Somebody make a motion.
Make a motion to recommend the approval of PDD 22-002.
Which is a change to change the zoning classification of approximately 29.39 acres located at the 2500 block of South State Highway MM from general commercial C2 and agricultural AG to Iron Grain District Plan Development District PDD. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Call
Commissioner
vote.
Campbell,
Aye.
Commissioner Hyder,
Aye.
Commissioner Ellis,
Aye.
Commissioner DeBrava,
Aye.
and Commissioner Alexander.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Home stretch here. Final hearing is, or is this other business? Is this in the hearing, is it? Sub D?
This is not a hearing.
Right, okay. So we're now going to sub D pre, I'm sorry. All right, sub D pre 21-006. Possible vote to recommend the approval of a preliminary plat for Republic Industrial Subdivision, a subdivision consisting of approximately 37.98 acres located at West Farm Road 144 and South State Highway MM. Staff?
I'll go ahead and give the report, but before I do, I'll just say that Tim Show is on the meeting in case anybody has questions. He is working with the applicant. So he'll be available if, for discussion afterwards.
Okay.
Asset Holdings Group LLC has requested review and approval of a preliminary plat of approximately 37.98 acres Republic's industrial subdivision, consisting of 8 industrial lots zoned heavy manufacturing, M2, streets and infrastructure. Preliminary plats are reviewed for their conformance with the following criteria to ensure the development in the proposed location. Will not endanger the public health or safety, will not injure the value of adjoining property or abutting property, will be in conformity with the comprehensive plan, transportation plan, zoning code, water system master plan, wastewater system facility plan, or other plans officially adopted by the city council, and will be in harmony with the area in which it is located. Preliminary plats are reviewed by the city planner and the city engineer in conformance with the requirements of Chapter 410 of Republic's Municipal Code. I'm going to pull out on this so you can see it real quick. Apologize. The property subject to this preliminary plat is comprised of approximately 37.98 acres of land located at the northwest corner of the intersection of South State Highway MM and West Farm Road 144. The property is zoned appropriately for the proposed plat, heavy manufacturing M2. The following paragraphs contain brief analysis of the application's conformity with the preliminary plat review criteria identified above. Regarding consistency with the comprehensive plan, the reference preliminary plan contains 8 lots, also consists of streets, open spaces, and detention area. Regarding the transportation plan, the preliminary plat proposes a new local street with access to Farm Road 144 and State Highway MM. This new public street will be dedicated to the city during the final platting process. The applicant submitted a traffic impact study, TIS, The TIS took into account full build out of the subdivision in its analysis. The following recommendations resulted from the TIS. An intersection at MM with the new public road, a designated northbound and southbound right turn lane at State Highway MM and the new road, and an eastbound left and right turning movements that are separated out into individual lanes. At the intersection of MM and Farm Road 144, a designated left turn lane, northbound left turn lane. Water and wastewater master plan. The parcel is in proximity to a 12-inch water main serving Murphy Tractor on the south side of Farm Road 144. Development of the property will require the looping of water from its current location to serve the subject parcel. Due to topography, the property is unable to gravity to an existing lift station. Instead, a new lift station will be constructed by the developer to serve the site as depicted on the plat. Sanitary sewer will then flow from the new lift station to the Brookline North Lift Station, to the Brookline South Lift Station, to the McElhaney Lift Station, and then to the Schuler Creek Lift Station, where it will be pumped from the Schuler Creek to the wastewater facility. The water system, all named lift stations, or the named lift stations and wastewater treatment facility currently have capacity to serve the applicant's intended use. Regarding the zoning code, the preliminary plat of Republic Industrial Subdivision has been platted for the construction of 8 heavy manufacturing zoned lots and associated infrastructure, including public streets, sidewalk, public water, and sanitary sewer mains and storm detention. Regarding the floodplain, the subject parcel does not contain a special flood hazard area. Regarding sinkholes, the subject parcel does not contain any identified sinkholes. Regarding stormwater, the preliminary plat contains a stormwater detention area in the middle western portion of the subdivision just south of Lot 2. This basin is designed to control the release of stormwater attributable from the development. The plat contains a conceptual layout of the detention area. The area will be designed to mitigate existing conditions to reduce the amount of post-development flows to less than pre-development flows. The stormwater detention area's outflow will flow to Farm Road 144. A stormwater report will be reviewed by the TRT, the city's technical review team, during infrastructure design review. The stormwater detention area and all open space common area will be maintained by a property owners association. The design of the streets, sidewalks, water, and sanitary sewer systems and stormwater detention will be reviewed and permitted during the infrastructure permitting process. Staff considers the proposed preliminary plat in general conformity with the requirements for preliminary plats and is recommending approval of the application.
Any questions? Everybody's happy with it, then we vote on it. If not, what issues do you have?
Staff, is the 8th lot the one that where the residential homes sit currently right on Double M Highway?
The 8th lot is actually the detention basin along the west property line.
Okay.
The lot number 3 now includes the residential houses along Highway MM.
Okay, I see that now. Thank you.
I hear a motion.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Cynthia. We have a motion to approve a preliminary plat for Republic Industrial Subdivision, a subdivision consisting of approximately 37.98 acres located at West Farm Road 144 and South State Highway MM. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Darren. Call the-
Commissioner Alexander,
Aye.
Commissioner Hyder,
Aye.
Commissioner Ellis,
Aye.
Commissioner DeBrava,
Aye.
and Commissioner Campbell.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for your time, guys.
Yeah, we got one more thing to do. If there's any citizens that wish to speak to us, now's the time to come forward about things that were not presented during this hearing. Is there anyone that wishes to come forward and speak with us? Hearing no one, I'll close that. I'll take a motion to adjourn if somebody wants to make it.
I'll do it. It's my first time.
There you go, John. You can be the official adjourner.
Dinner time.
Adjourner motioner. Here, second.
Second.
Thanks. Call the roll.
Right.
Commissioner Alexander,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Campbell,
Aye.
Commissioner DeBrava,
Aye.
Commissioner Ellis,
Aye.
and Commissioner Hyder.
Aye.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. It was a long hearing, long meeting, and aside from the hiccups at the first, we made it.
Thank you all very much. I know doing Zoom meetings is not absolutely the easiest, so we will see you next month in person. Do please make sure that you fill out the findings of fact this evening while everything is fresh on your mind. Put them back in the envelopes, and if you will just leave them at your front door, we will come by in the morning to pick those up.
Hey, Karen,
Yes,
can you call me?
yes,
You have my cell?
yes.
Okay, give me a call. I mean, now, if you got a minute, I just need to talk to you about something, but we can't do it from here.
Thank you again very much. Stay safe out there, and we will send notification probably next week regarding our upcoming meeting in March.
Okay, great.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.